Hey, how are you guys? Good?
Good.
Awesome.
Good.
Ricky. Um, and Tony, yes, welcome. Maybe we should wait for a few more people because 10 people indicated they could make this time, right? Yeah, so we could wait for a few more people. In the meanwhile, if you guys have any questions, if you have anything to discuss, please feel free. Yeah, and I know you've all finished blue and green. Those of you here right now, and you're starting on red. Are you feeling better, Walter?
Yeah, I'm still sick, but I'm not as sick. I'm feeling much better.
Oh, that's
yeah.
that's good to hear.
Actually, I do have a question about the red quest, just a clarifying, just because I'm sort of confused on the add all elam.
Uh-huh.
I'm just confused on, so I'm guessing that is taking all the data from the elam vector and putting it into the
Yes.
master.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Add all the elements. I think so. Wait, add all elements, and then you pass it a vector by reference or const vector or something like that.
Yes, by reference, correct.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's what I had in mind. Add all elements. Put that in the master set. Yes.
Another thing that, so for those, just want to clarify. So for, I think for that one, when it has like the fuzzy photo of what it should look like, it has a boolean as the return type. So do we simply return true as long as it works, or what do you want?
Hey, Walter, just hang on a sec. I need to get my AirPods because my speakers on this Mac are bust. So just give me 1 sec. All right. Let me make sure that Zoom is set to talk to the AirPods. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, sorry, Walter, could you repeat that question, please?
Yeah, I just noticed that for both add element, where you pass the index, and add all elements, they both have a Boolean return type. And so I was confused on not only I was confused on the choice of doing that, just like in terms of design, why you would want to return a Boolean and not, for example, like the element you're adding. Just confused them.
Does it, so the spec doesn't say why you need to return a Boolean, or what under what conditions you should return a Boolean? I can take a look. Just give me 1 sec.
You're cutting out a little bit. Oh, you were cutting out a little bit with the AirPods.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it sounds better.
Yep.
All right. So are you saying the spec? So I'm looking at the spec right now just to make sure. You're saying it doesn't. It's not clear. It doesn't say why you should return a Boolean. It just says you have to return a Boolean. Okay, Boolean. Yeah, I see that. Now, why would it return a Boolean? I'm all. What's your right? There's no reason given. Give me 1 sec, okay? I'm gonna look in my source code. I must have. If I don't have a good reason, we'll change the spec, okay? But we'll see.
All right. Okay, so add lm is clear if n is out of range or if oh yes. Basically, I think add should return Boolean if the add succeeded, and it should return false if the add failed. And so, yeah, and it makes sense because it's a verb, add. So if you invoke a method that's named with a verb and it returns bool, that means the verb, the action of the verb was successful or not. And so for add a single element, I presume it would be if under what circumstances, if n is out of range of the master, you wouldn't be able to add it. And there's other situations too, right? Master could be null. The master could be a null pointer. So so in those cases, you would not have been successful in executing the add, and then you say false. You think it would be helpful if we just spelled it out explicitly, saying that these methods should return true if they succeed, and false if they failed, or is it?
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, I think I sort of assumed that it was probably if it succeeds, it works, just because that would make sense for that type of but I wasn't too sure on the use of it, just because I was thinking on how to. So I haven't really started coding most of it. I'm still sort of in the planning process, and I'm just unsure of the use of it, except for why you would want that Boolean return type. And I feel like, yeah, that's it. But I totally understand, what you want it to do. I'm just unsure of the benefit of it.
Right. The benefit would be that if I tried to add a bunch of things into the master set, and it failed, I need to know, right? So this would be the only way you can find out. There's no other way we could find out if what the master set actually contains. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yeah, okay, that makes sense, because you have to know if stuff is added or not. That's necessary.
Yeah.
Okay.
In general, I think if there's a method whose name is a verb that indicates an action, then usually it makes sense to return a Boolean because the action could either succeed or fail.
Okay. Okay, thanks so much.
No worries, no worries. Thanks. I looked at the source code after a long time, so thanks. Yes. So anything else you guys want to talk about?
May I say something?
Yeah, sure, Tony, go ahead.
I think I agree with the water about this thing, because I know it's a good practice to have a Boolean return type from a method, but I think that people without like the developing experience might not know. So I think it's better if it's specifically explained in the spec. I think that's gonna be better.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. So all right. So after today's meeting, I'll remember to try and work it in somewhere. I don't know where it'll go. Yeah, I could just put it under the. Do we have individual mini quests in there? Like
You have one for add them all, which is add all elements, but you do not have one for add element, just specific one with the index.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh, because that's not a mini quest, right? Adding a single element is not a mini quest, is it?
No, I think you just check it using the add them all, since they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. I see. All right. So I will I'll insert a note after mini quest 4. In the description of mini quest 4, Tony, I'll say that if it is successful, return true, and not successful, return false. Thanks. Yeah, good point. Yeah, I saw Riley offering to help the other students. There's only 5 students in class who haven't done all the blue and green. There were a couple of students, 2 or 3, I think, who did not do my 2B, but still completed all of the blue and green over the last 2 weeks. So most of you have done it, and some of them are, in fact, making very good progress too. And I think, especially after Riley posted his note, I think they have increased confidence now that someone's got their back, and so they're making a move and trying to do things. Because I think one of the reasons why students might have been held back before was that, well, I don't know if something fails, who's got my back? I don't know where to go. I don't know if I can get help. But since Riley said, don't worry, go ahead. If you get stuck, we'll help you. Now they're going ahead. And because they're going ahead, they're also managing to solve it. Yeah, if you don't try, you don't succeed. And so Riley's post motivated them to try. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I was glad because someone who responded to it was stuck with a password question. They didn't know what to do with the password. So I feel like they might have
Oh, I see. Yes.
waiting if I never posted anything. So
Thanks. Yeah, I saw that too. And at some point, I think I should. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't. I was thinking, if you can't find the spec, you should click on it. Basically, say what Riley said in the spec itself. But I'm thinking I won't do it because this way is better, because it urges them to interact with the other students and say, hey, what do I do? And then it can get the conversation going. So I'll leave it like that for now. And yeah, thanks. Hey, Turkey, you have a question? You have your hand raised.
Yeah.
Can hear you.
So,
yeah, okay.
So I was trying to catch up with the blue ones, and I'm just uploading all my other green ones. I think I passed by one of the quests, and we were talking about why we should have a Boolean when we add or remove. I think it was discussed in details in one of the PDFs, but I forgot which one it was. We were talking about like knowing the edges.
Which one? No, is it in blue or green, you mean?
I think it's either blue or green. I was going through them yesterday, and I've seen it like somewhere. It's both adding and removing. We were talking about why we need to confirm it with a Boolean at one point. I think it was,
no. I think maybe you're talking about setters. Turkey. I remember saying that about setters. I said setters should return
okay,
Boolean.
then that's what I'm thinking.
Maybe that's what you remember. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe if you do find it, if you do find that there is another thing like add or something, and I actually said that, let me know, because I don't remember. But certainly I said that about setters, I think. Where I think in blue quest 6, Crow, where you have setters for the first time, or even before, I think, when when they have to play with methods, and then there we say, I don't know. Yeah, I kind of forget the earlier ones, but I'll take a look. If you guys let me know, I'll definitely go and review them.
Sure.
Thanks. Christian, welcome. Is this your first class here? And by the way, you should all feel free to just switch on your cameras. It actually does look much better that way in the YouTube when there are lots of students interacting. And if you don't want to do that, you can always reach out to me, and that's okay. But hopefully not all of you. But if you don't have your camera on, ideally you're interacting a lot more than the other students, so that we know that you are here. Wow, Christian just disappeared. All right. Hey, Sung, welcome.
Thank you. I joined a bit late because I was outside.
Yeah, no worries. We haven't started yet, really. We'll do the update when more people are here, maybe in about 10 or 15 minutes. Until then, we could just have a free-form conversation. I think the reason to start the updates a little later is to allow more people to join. And obviously, this is the first week, and most people are still working on green at this point. So maybe they won't have well, you guys may have started on red, but even then, this is the first week, really. So I don't expect you to come here with heavy updates. I know that some of you have actually finished the first request, yeah, and even the second one. So, which is great going, fantastic, yeah. And it's I think it's very, very important in 2C to stay on top of it and knock off these quests every week, because I think later on some of the later quests will be a little hard, and not just technically hard. What I tended to do was in the later red quests, I also minimize the amount of information that you get back from the questing system, so that you would have to do more of the debugging yourself. And the system will basically just say, like a customer, you gave me a product and it worked or not. Well, it's not, it's not that bad, but it will, you won't get, the clues will become a lot more cryptic, and then you have to design your own test cases, like Ronaldo and Riley and all of these, and Walter, all of you guys created in 2B. It'll be very helpful to set up your own test cases. Because a lot of computer science is basically about around creating your own test cases. In fact, really, why computer science? A lot of science itself is to do with creating your own test cases. Because, and I never get tired of saying this. In fact, the best scientists are the ones who try the hardest ever to disprove their own theories. People always say, scientists ideally want to prove their own theories, but no, the best scientists are the ones who try to disprove their own theories, because they don't want to be disproven by others. I think no, that's not. But really, the reason they want to disprove it is because, first of all, they can't believe the results they got, because sometimes you get a result in a scientific experiment that goes against what you thought should happen, and that makes it doubly enticing. And saying, oh wow, I need to get to the root of this, because this can't be true. It is too good to be true. So they try and find out all kinds of ways in which they can break it, and say, let's see, Einstein, right? Was Einstein alive when they got the famous corroboration for the general theory of relativity, that light bends around, solar eclipse around the sun, distant star shifted when viewed from Earth? I don't know if he was alive, but if he was alive, he would be the first person who would be most invested in that experiment, trying to say, well, I have this theory, and people gave me a lot of recognition for it, but let's find out if it's true or false. Okay, so he would be the first front runner in the race to disprove his own theory. And likewise, you'll find that amongst computer scientists and programmers, the best computer programmers are the ones who devise the most ingenious tests to try and break their own program. So in 2C, you get a chance to do that, because when you create these programs, you want, before you send it to the questing system, which is really a proxy for your customer. Because when you build a product, you don't want to send it to your customer before you send it to a battery of QA. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of people trying to test it here, and all these corner cases, and trying to find out if it breaks. Because you don't want to, because if the program breaks in the hands of an experienced programmer or a computer scientist, yes. So we are experienced programmers and computer scientists, and if we write a program and it breaks for us, and we're not able to figure out what the hell is wrong, how could 99.99% of the rest of the world, who are not programmers, okay, and many of them don't even know how computers work. They just have they say, oh, I've got something here, I can press these buttons and I get these beautiful colors. Okay, so that's all they know, and something doesn't work. How would they know? They don't even know what a bug is, and what, whether it's hardware or software or what kind of issue it is. And they'll basically say, I don't know, man, this program just basically ruined my phone, I'm going to uninstall it, right? So so the best programmers, but that is not the motivation. Strangely enough, I used to think a long time ago that programmers test their programs exhaustively, good programmers test their programs exhaustively, because they don't want the program to break in the customer's hands. Okay, that is not true. I find, at least in my own case, that even when I write something, and even if I'm 100% sure that that program is never going to see light of day, it's only for me, right? No other person than me is ever going to use that program. Even then, I think true programmers want it to be bug-free. They will try their best to break it, because it's not the question of whether the program, squeaks through, because you're never going to be happy with something that squeaks through, right? You want to be sure that this is really solid. This is really value, right? I'm not passing off some shit that this guy is at, cool stuff on the outside to people, right? So it's got to be good inside also. And then I'm happy with my product, not sugar-coated nonsense. And so that's where good programmers tend to be. And and I hope 2C will basically encourage that kind of attitude to everybody already has that. Encourage, give you opportunities to nurture that attitude and grow it, so that we get a lot more comfortable and also motivated and enthused about testing our own programs. In 2C, not so much of a problem, but I usually in 2A and 2B, most of the time when things don't work, it's usually due to lack of testing on the student's part. But we get more, hopefully more diagnostics in the 2B and 2A quests to help you develop your own tests. In 2C, I think people have to, develop an intuition for what to test and then code it up themselves. I think
Actually,
what Ronaldo
kind of wanted
was actually pretty good.
I kind of wanted to add to that, where like, I think that was definitely a problem where we weren't really testing. But for me, when I had the most struggles, it was because I didn't know what to expect, like what the perfect case was. So like, I think I should have spent more time like trying to understand the problem rather than just starting to code.
Oh, are you talking about 2B or 2C?
2B.
2B, I see. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think that's another skill to have too, is to understand the problem, spend time understanding the problem. Because I think the tendency when we start 2A, for all students, right? All students is how quickly can I become a programmer? And so we tend to, in 2A and blue, even before we start, a course, when doing programs at home and things like that, everybody wants to get it going as quickly as possible, so they have something to show other people. And so we don't spend enough time understanding the problem. And so we say, here is a problem, but the superficial aspect of the problem, which you get without understanding the whole problem, but by looking at it, every single problem is like that, okay? Every single problem has two faces, I find, okay? One is the deep face, where the real problem lies, and the other is a superficial face, where you say, well, there are also these things that you can look at. Now, so there's easy problems, and then there's real hard problems. Now, during the early stages, what we tend to do is just look at the easy problems and say, well, I've got some problems to solve, let me go and solve it. And it's very, very tempting, and it takes quite a while to get over that and say, well, let me fully understand what's going on. Maybe many of these easy problems are not even problems. Once I understand the real problem, maybe these things don't even have to be solved. And that takes a little while, and getting used to it is important. So yeah, I agree. But if you have any suggestions for, how to change something in a spec to make this clear, and right off the bat in 2B, or I can put it in the syllabus too, saying in 2B, you are going to have to, starting from 2B onwards, you're going to have to invest a lot more time in understanding the problem and the concept before jumping to code, because we're so eager, always, right? Even today, we're always eager to code and get the problem, right? And so I also have this great temptation to jump into coding as quickly as possible. And I think it's just learning to resist that is the key. Yeah. Hey, Turkey, you had your hand up at some point, I think. Yeah? Or did you have a question, or?
Yeah, I did. I was wondering if because I took the CS2B, and I was wondering if we need to catch up too, or because I do have all my files back.
Yeah. I think Jiang or someone else also asked a question. I actually remember all of you. So you'll all get points for
Okay.
the blue and green for sure. But just to be sure, if you are concerned about it, whenever you have time, just go ahead and just resubmit all of those programs at some point.
Well,
And
I'm kind of going crazy because I'm just because it's a quest, and still you still have options to get more points. So it's more fun. It's like I'm digging into it, trying to redo it again, just for fun. But I
no,
was
you
just
don't have to redo it.
yeah,
No, why should you redo it? You just have the source code.
there's
Right?
hidden points.
Hmm?
Like some of them I didn't finish them like fully complete. Some of them have like hidden trophies that I kind of want to find them.
Oh, you don't
So
have
it's more
to.
of-
You only need to pop each of them. You just need to pop each of them.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
only up to the password. Yeah, don't worry that. Don't think you have to ace every quest in blue and green. Okay, so if you just
Mm.
get through to the password of each one, that's fine.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Actually,
Anything else?
I have a question about the first red quest. I was looking at the let me check which one it is. It's figure 1 where it shows how the sets point back to the master set and sort of reiterating the fact that everything's just pointing back to the master set. But I also noticed there that you know, when it does point back to the master set, it is all sorted. And I also noticed at the bottom of it does bring that question of whether or not sorting
No,
the
it's not sorted. No, it's not sorted, Walter. Why do you say it's sorted?
I'm just looking at it because if you look at, for example, my set 1 elements, which has 1, 2, 7 in it, 1 always
Oh, you
points
mean in the picture? In the picture.
in the figure it is, yes.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Is that a PNG? Or maybe I have the picture somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. If it's too confusing, let me know. It is a bit of a pain for me to go and change those numbers. But I will change it if you guys think it's too confusing.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to
no,
be sorted.
yeah, I realize it doesn't have to be because I also saw at the bottom you wrote here, does a particular order of processing the master set elements work better than others? And then it says, does sorting the list of items help? So, and I was gonna ask that in terms of if there's a point to sorting the master set. And to be honest, I can't really find a reason why it would be much more efficient if it was sorted, at least with the way I have to solve it, because I feel like it
Mhm.
will completely depend on the target. I mean, maybe it will help in certain cases, but I don't see sorting helping. So I was wondering if there is any point in sorting that master.
Very good question. I'm happy to answer that. But how about someone else take a crack at it, or even take wild guesses? That's fine. And if you guys like, you can discuss this and say, why would sorting help? If it helps, or does it help? It's actually a very good discussion point. Yes. So you can discuss that in the forums. And at the end, if you still haven't got a good reason that everybody agrees on, I'm happy to chime in and say, well, how about this reason? Which again, I'm not going to promise will be correct, but it will certainly be something that is worth thinking about, and it'll look plausible at the very least. The reason I give, yeah. So yeah, how about, it doesn't have to be right now, but you can just write it down to discuss when you guys get together and say, is there a way? No, is there a reason? Is there likely to be a reason why sorting the master set will give us a way in which we can construct these sets or identify the targets sooner, on average, meaning for various targets, right? Yes, Walter is absolutely right that the specific value of the target is definitely a consideration here. But if you want to look at the general case behavior, you want to say on average for any target, any random target, does sorting help or not? Right? And also keep in mind that sorting does not mean that you're going to process it in ascending order. right? You may decide to process it in descending order. Once you have it sorted, you can, process it in any order you want. It's the same complexity, right? So, so the sorting question that Walter has refers to, it's not just the ascending order or descending order. Does sorting help at all? So it's a good question, absolutely. And in fact, even better than that, even better than discussing it here, why don't you discuss this in the forum? Because people who are not here can also chime in. It would be a good opportunity for many people to get participation points just by chiming in here. And I think that would be fantastic.
Okay, yeah, I'll make
and of
post.
course, if nobody, but make a post. And if nobody chimes in a couple of weeks, I will absolutely weigh in there. And if I don't, just tag me. Who knows, right? In a couple of weeks, there may be so much activity in the forums that we'll all be excited and looking at something else. But I'll definitely close the loop on this. Thanks. Anything else? Do you guys want to have a free-form discussion until more people turn up? We can start doing the updates. There's only 6 of you right now, so the updates won't take a lot of time. So we can start doing the updates in about 10 or 15 minutes, or whenever you guys are tired, updating each other, or just having a general conversation. Yeah.
May I take a guess for that question? Why sorting is needed?
Hey, no, Tony. I know you want to take a guess. How about you save that for the forum?
Sure.
That might be better. Right? Because you also get,
too.
you can get extra points. Yeah, you can get extra points for that, and it'll also feed some discussion, and it'll be richer that way. Anything else?
Yeah, a question I had. I was just thinking of the returning a bool question from the first red quest, and that brought to my attention from the second one. There's a get function, and if it can't find the value, if the value doesn't exist, it returns the default value. And I just thought of maybe that is a question to like why it returns the default value rather than just a bool saying it couldn't find it, because that's kind of like what it does.
So which one are you talking about? Is this the first quest? The
second red quest, the get function. It returns just the default value rather than a bool. So just curious, maybe. I haven't really.
Yes. Okay. All right. Very good question. Okay, and I if I'm not mistaken, this would not be for matrix. It would be for sparse matrix. Yes.
Yeah, it's for the sparse matrix.
Okay. In fact, even for yes, it has to be for the sparse matrix. What would get in for matrix 2 if it was out of bounds? I guess it would throw the only way you can handle that in a matrix is an exception, right?
Yeah, it throws an exception.
In a regular matrix. Okay, all right. So that's what it does. Good. Yeah, sparse matrix. Why do you return the default val instead of false? Well, technically you can't return false, right? Because get has to return a T, an item of type T. So, but Boolean is not of type T. Boolean is a different type altogether. So you got to return T. So that's one reason, but that's not the reason. Okay. That is not the reason. Interestingly enough, that is a technical reason that is forced upon us by the language constraint. Because the C++ language, the compiler says it has to return a T, it can't return a bool. Okay, so the language constraints force us to not return a bool. Okay, but that is not the right answer. Strangely enough, I just realized. Thank you for bringing up that question. And again, this would be a very nice thing to discuss in the forums too, because it's a very nice insight. And why would you return a T instead of a bool? Even though, and one of the reasons is the compiler prevents it, but that's not the right reason. The right reason is something else. So please do think about that, and I would be happy to chime in there too, right? There is a good reason. Okay, I can assure you there is a good reason.
Yeah, I was just thinking because you wouldn't be able to really tell if it was successful or not if that location happened to have a default value. And you were searching, you wouldn't be able to tell if it actually what didn't exist or it actually did exist as a default value in the list.
So suppose a value didn't exist. But I don't want to go into the detail because it'll rob you of some interesting discussion points in the forum. But you can still make a post, okay, even if you do know the answer. What does it mean if a value doesn't exist in the sparse matrix at a particular index?
Well, if it doesn't exist, it would be either out of range, or it could just be an like a fill-in kind of imaginary value. The default
in a sparse matrix,
broader sparse matrix.
In a sparse matrix, let's assume that the value I'm trying to get something within range of the sparse matrix, and that value is not there. Yeah.
And then it just returns.
So what does it mean? It has to return default, right?
Yeah. It just means that you haven't added anything into that particular location, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Because the sparse matrix, we don't store defaults explicitly. We only store it implicitly by absence. So when you don't find something, you say, "Oh, that place contains a default," and yeah. But imagine that you didn't have the answer and still ask questions, and let's see if we can have an interesting discussion, right?
Sure.
And obviously now you know the answer, you can chime in at the end, I guess, and say, well, we talked about it and this is the reason, or something like that. But it'd be interesting to see what other people also come up with, because thinking about that is basically going to lead them to the core idea behind sparse matrices, what sparse matrices are, and this is basically the core idea, saying that it's exactly the same as in the minor quest in 2B, where you have an infinite bit string, but you only store the interesting portion, and the rest of it is basically your extreme bit. And it's an infinite number of extreme bits. You can't obviously store it, so that if someone says, what's the value of this generation of automaton in that location, but you don't actually have it because your generation is only that much, you say, yeah, I know what that value is, even though it's like so much to the right, it has to be an extreme bit. And the same kind of reasoning is here too. Hey, Soom, you have a question? You raise your hand. Oh, was it Tony?
I was stretching
Tony
my
raised his
bad.
hand now.
Sorry.
All right, okay. Tony, you have a question? No? All right. Well, I mean, it looks like you guys are good. How about you just have a free-form conversation amongst yourself for about 5 minutes, and then when you're ready to do your update, just let me know, and I'll turn the laptop around, and then we can do a rotation. We start from Walter. There's only 4 or 5 of you. Well, actually, Kristen turned up and then she disappeared all of a sudden. I don't know. But the Zoom is all working now, I think. Yes, because my 2A students had a hell of a time getting on Zoom, because I think what happened in 2A was that I set up some meetings, but then I realized there was an error, so I canceled those meetings and set them up again. And so the meetings, the Zoom links showed up in the Zoom thing there, but on the left in the left nav, but the calendar that Canvas pops up on the right, that has like 5 or 6 meetings. Even the deleted ones are showing up, and students were clicking on the deleted ones and they were not getting to the correct meeting. So that was a big issue. So at least you all managed to get to the meeting today. So I'm happy for that. Anything else? I'm pretty sure we'll have a far richer and a lot more interesting meetings further down the track, right? In just starting next week. Is it next week? Yeah, this is week 2, is it? This is week 2? Yeah, this is week 2. So starting right next week, everybody should be working on Red Plus. So people should have all finished blue and green. So I think we would have extended, lively discussions of many interesting topics, and especially the people who have solved 1 and 2, they will be like super valuable, I think, for next week, because people will be having questions and you can help them out. This is great. Yeah, I'm happy to see all of you back again. I think I've told you that before. going great. And I look at the, your submissions also, and the quality is very good, and also the quality has improved so much. Even if you don't see it, right? Everything has gotten better and better. It's more professional. It's slick and clean and efficient. And it's clear to me that you do have test cases somewhere in your main that you're not submitting, where you're testing for corner cases, because I know that a bunch of your mini quests will just bomb right out of the water if you didn't have those tests in place. So this is fantastic to see you all code professionally, which is what is going to be expected of you. In just 12 weeks from now, you'll be out there, and this is the code that customers and clients will expect. And so that's great. All right, you guys want to have a general conversation for about 5 minutes, and then we can start the updates. There's only 5 updates, right? So we can also be done with the updates really quickly, and maybe this meeting won't take long. But you can just talk for about 5 minutes. If someone else joins, well and good. Otherwise, we'll just do the updates. How about 5 minutes from now? I'll just set a timer, and then we can start. Yeah? Okay, great. Alexa, start a timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, starting now.
Okay. All right. So if you need me, just call me. Okay. I'll just come around. I'm just going to be here. Okay. I'll be wearing my AirPods, obviously, so I'll be hearing you guys. But I won't be in your face, like I say, right? So I'm just going to turn the laptop around, and you guys can carry on your conversation. Okay. Feel free to talk about anything. It is all recorded, so but I don't have any problems. You guys are all very careful and safe. Yeah, not like here's my social security number on YouTube. Okay, so that's good job. Hey, Turkey, you have a question? You have your hand raised.
I don't think it's a question. It's more of a suggestion. Is it okay to I have a process of how to take the quests and deal with it and set it up and test it. I was wondering if I can run it by my team and everyone just to see if they like the method, or maybe we can post it later in Reddit so it can be better, because it saves me a lot of time.
You can post it even now in Reddit. You should totally feel free to post it in Reddit regardless, right? Even if you discuss it here, you should post it in Reddit to say, hey, folks, this is how I test my code. See if you have any thoughts, or and you're free to use it if it helps you and things like that. People will appreciate these things. Yeah.
It's also not just testing the code; it's how to prep for the whole quest, regardless what it is. And
totally.
Maybe
if it has helped you, chances are it's going to help other people too. Okay. So what's the worst that could happen, right? Turkey, what's the worst that could happen, right? People could say, oh, Turkey posted something. It only works for him. It doesn't work for me. Okay, it's not going to help me, right? They're not going to come to your house and beat you with a stick. Okay.
True. Yeah.
So yeah, just go ahead. Just feel free. Feel free to share. Okay. Nobody can fault you for sharing. Okay. The only thing they could say is I don't want it. They can't say that person cannot believe what they want to believe. Right? It's your right to believe whatever you want. I cannot force my belief on you. And like that, this is what you do. Right? Take it if you want it. Don't take it if you don't want it. Okay, so that's a fantastic attitude. Please do share, because I'm pretty sure that there's going to be people who will totally find this useful. Okay, no matter even if 10 people don't find it useful, yeah, I'm pretty sure that other people will say thank you to it. Okay, so yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to be here. Okay, so call me. Maybe I'll just go make a coffee or something in 5 minutes, and I'll come back and I'll join you guys. Okay. Yeah, is that good? All right. So feel free to converse. Yeah, just don't be silent, okay? If you're silent, then I'll come back immediately. Keep talking. Even if you call my name, I'll come back. Otherwise, when the alarm goes off, let me, Alexa, cancel the timer.
5 minute timer canceled.
Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes. Okay.
5 minutes, starting now.
All right, there you go.
Sorry, I don't have an answer for that.
So I think the conversation we had about the return type in add element method is pretty good. I think I'm gonna post on Reddit And I'm gonna try my best to answer that question. And you guys are always welcome to add more info.
I was curious, I meant to make a post about this last quarter, but I was curious what you guys thought was the hardest of the green quests. I don't know if you guys have an opinion on
For
that.
me, I think it was Quest 8, to be honest.
Yeah, I was gonna say the
It's-
same.
It was between Quest 8 and Quest
Oh, yeah.
4, but yeah.
I think it was Quest 6 and 8.
For me, it's Quest 8.
I
Yeah.
found Quest 6 to be pretty easy. I don't, maybe there was like some details that were like kind of difficult to debug, but for me, I felt that Quest 6 was like huge difficulty, like I guess like a very, I don't know, for me, like Quest 4 and Quest 8 were like the only really difficult quests. But I guess everyone's experience is a bit different though.
Yeah, I got stuck on, I think it was Mini Quest 4 or 5, and I got stuck in it for a week. And I'm like, I just give up. I'm going to work in a side project for now. And then when I got back to it, I was like, oh, it's just the order of when you have to declare and when you have to create. And it just fixed it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I made a lot of mistakes there too, but that was like my own fault. Like literally, I kind of like misread the dimensions, and I was like, oh, I just put a parentheses where there wasn't supposed to be a parentheses. And so like for a whole day, I was like, oh, why does my quadrilateral look so weird? And then it turns out I was just putting the parentheses wrong.
Another good question would actually be the favorite one. I think for me, the favorite one would have to be the one that was the first sort of like introduction to recursion, the Towers of Hanoi problem, because that one was the most sort of like aha moment for me when you figure out how to solve it or when it starts working. That was probably my favorite one.
Honestly, my favorite was Quest 8, even though I found it the most difficult. I enjoyed the challenge, and I was like, I felt so satisfied when I finished it. Like, yeah.
So do anyone of you guys use Obsidian Note Taker? Yeah, y'all should give it a try. It's amazing. The nice thing about it is, like, I use it a lot with prepping for projects and creating like to-do lists. It does have a plugin called Kanban, and you can actually add it and follow the progress. I think I forgot the name of the Kanban board and the other method. There's a name for it, but they use it a lot in current professional, like software engineers, like when they take the project. It's the same process flow. But yeah, take a look at the at Obsidian. It's heavenly when it comes to taking notes and following projects.
I'm not sure how far, I know Raleigh's done with Quest 1, but I'm not sure how far you guys are. But the more I look at the first quest, the more I sort of get the feeling that a lot of the coding, a lot of the planning I'm doing has to just get rid of stuff that I don't want to deal with. That's sort of my tackle on efficiency is just I don't want to waste my time on anything that I shouldn't be doing. And so that's sort of how I'm going about it. It's just making sure there's no sets, there's no nothing I'm dealing with that aren't going to be useful to me. Which was sort of a breakthrough. Before I was trying to, okay, how can I find the best one? But instead it's just get rid of the ones that don't work and then figure out the rest. And I think that's looking like it's going to work out better for me. I'm curious how you guys tackled that or tackling it.
For me, I don't think there was. I got my head really into Quest 2 right now, so I'm kind of thinking back to the logic I thought of for these sets, and I think one of the key points was just when to stop adding to the set. That was something that pretty simple that I figured out, but yeah.
Alexa, add 5 minutes.
I wonder if it's related to why we have it as a Boolean too. Remember the first question? Maybe there's a trick there. Maybe that's why we have it as a Boolean.
Actually, most of us here have like gone through quest 1, right? For red quest. To,
I'm still in the middle of it. I haven't really gotten through the coding of it yet. I sort of just
oh,
figured out how I want to do it, but I'm still applying those ideas. But
yeah, because there's still something I'm like wrapping my head around for like the add lm method, where like I'm trying to think about like, oh, what if you add a index that already exists in the vector, and like right now I don't have any way of checking for that. Like if I tested it on my own where I add like index 1 twice and it shows up twice in my vector. So I was wondering like how you guys check for that kind of case where you would add the same index twice or 3 times.
for me, I don't think I would run into that problem, just because the uses of addElem that I've got planned right now would be more inside of a for loop where I just have, some counter that's following it. So, but that's a good question. But yeah, I'm curious when you would add two of the same indexes to the same thing. Um, yeah, that's not something I've ran into yet, to be honest.
Yeah, I was just trying to be thorough. Like that was just one case that I thought of that might break my program. So I was just trying to test for that. And the only way I thought about was like going through the LM's vector and seeing if that index exists in the vector, but that would take linear time. So that would waste extra, like that would cost an extra loop each time you're entering the add lm function. So I thought I just kind of threw that solution away.
Yeah, I think I keep on forgetting the vocabulary because this is from high school. But there's post and there's prior when it comes to that stuff, and I think that's one of those cases where you just have to make sure you don't do it because checking if you made a mistake would be so painful. You just got to make sure you don't make that mistake, or that's at least how I would tackle that.
Yeah. Actually, like the way I would like keep like a Boolean or whatever. Actually, no, that's kind of stupid. Never mind.
So I didn't read through the PDF yet. We have a list of um, ordered items. Is that correct? Like, is it sorted?
They're not sorted, no.
Oh, okay. I was figuring. I was like, oh, you can do it like half it and half it, but no, doesn't work out. My bad.
Actually, on the sorted question, like the way initially thought about doing the biggest subset was like just having a set with all the elements and then just like subtracting from the set once, like while it's bigger than the target. I think having a sorted vector would kind of help with that solution, but I don't know if that I don't think that solution is very effective. So
Yeah, I know what you're talking about because I thought about that for a second too. But if you look at like the like mini quests where it's obvious that we're dealing with very large data sets, and the problem with that thing is if you have pretty small target and a very large data set, that would take immense amounts of time. Whereas you don't have to in other ways where you can add to multiple sets. So, but yeah, I understand where the thinking was coming from, but I just think as long as you have a smaller target and a bigger data set, it's just going to be very inefficient, which is why I think it's just better to avoid it.
also it would take like time to add all those elements to the set. So like, yeah, that's why I decided against it.
Alexa, stop the timer. Okay, yeah, I'm here. If you guys want to continue talking before you do the updates, that's fine. I can just wait, sit down here and wait. If you have any questions to ask before you start the updates, that's okay too. We can talk about that. And in fact, if you have any questions, it may even be better for you. You can consider posting the question in the forum rather than asking here, because I'm not yet convinced that everybody's watching these videos, all the other students, and there's only 5 of you here. And so if you come up with some brilliant questions here, and one of you come up with a brilliant answer, chances are that it would be completely unnoticed by the rest of the students who may run into the problem not knowing that. So unless there's a whole lot of people, save all your brilliant insights, okay? Or even you say, no, you don't have to save them. You can talk about them here, but you just have to remember to ask them again in the forums. And the reason I said save is because if you want to know the answer, you're not going to be motivated to post it in the forums, right? Because you know. But if you don't know yet, you'll say, well, it's going to be niggling in the back of your head and say, okay, I'm going to ask in the forums. So that's why I said ask in the forums rather than ask here. But by all means, once we have a certain critical mass of students, like maybe 15 students here in class, or even 10, all the ones who responded positively to Walter's poll, then you can feel free to discuss as many problems here as possible. Even then, I'm kind of reluctant because 10 is not like not yet even half the class. I have more than half the class. Yeah.
I had an idea for that, which would be like, for example, today, let's say we did talk about the whole sorting and whatnot. Since we all have access to it, maybe one of us or the person who asked the question could simply do a post and say, hey, here's the video. If you go at and then have a timestamp of where to go, and then they show the discussion and then say, does anyone have anything to add? That way everyone can be sort of included in it.
That would be fantastic. In fact, you don't even have to say, you don't have to, in fact, YouTube lets you create a bookmark with a timestamp. Yeah. So yeah, that's even better. So they don't have to go searching and say, well, I got to, scrub to 3 minutes and 77 seconds, 25 seconds. They can basically click and go right there. Yeah, I think that's great. And yeah, and as soon as they click, they'll have a YouTube panel that shows up where, Riley or Sung is asking that question. And then Walter is answering. And then, there's the Reddit question. So after having watched that video, here's some of the ideas that our class came up with. Do you guys have anything to add? And obviously, the more people add to it, the more points they could basically mine from these conversations. Ultimately, I think it's just getting opportunities to share your wisdom, because I find that a lot of students know a lot of really cool shit. Okay, they know some interesting things, valuable things, but they're reluctant to share them because based on some conversations. Okay, I don't think that all students feel this way, but I asked. This is from back in the day. When I asked students, why don't you have these interesting ideas? Why don't you ask them in class? Okay, verbally. So the general reason I think I got, what was the reason? So, well, I actually had a good reason for this. If you ask the question, I don't know. I actually had a question. I had a very good reason why students don't ask. Students feel reluctant to post the questions in the forums. And yeah, opportunities. Yeah. So they have these interesting thoughts that they haven't shared, because if they share it without being prompted for it, if they share it without being asked for the answer, they feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to come off like a show off or something like that because I'm sharing something unsolicited pearls of wisdom. All right. So and they feel that, oh, I shouldn't be showing off what I know, and I don't know. I that is a bad thing because there are ways in which you can share what you know and come off like a wise guy and know it all, saying, oh, this was all too easy for me and you guys are all slugging it out, but no problem for me and this is what I did. Yeah, that kind of post, know it all thing, yeah, okay, I can agree that is a negative post, right? But if you say something like, hey, here's something interesting that I found, even though nobody asked me, this is something interesting I found, that is like so valuable. But people don't do that because they're basically waiting for opportunities to share them. Everybody has these really cool things about our personalities, right? Our own personalities, our knowledge and things that people are reluctant to share because of the fear that they may be seen as show-offs. And so what we need to do basically to tease it out of them is to give them opportunities to show them, right? So if you think that some person has something interesting to say, ask them a question, even if it's your friend, okay? Maybe you talked about it over a drink and you both know, right? So I had a question and that guy gave me an answer over beer, okay? Now we both know the question and the answer, but and it would be really nice if that person shared it in the forums, but he's not going to share it unless someone asked him. So even though I know the answer and I know I'm going to ask this question so that that person has a chance to display what they know. And this way you can give each other opportunities to shine, because every one of you is basically a diamond with many facets, right? So, but if it's now hidden away in a dark room and nobody can see, you're just a diamond in a dark room, right? So you got to make sure that you are friends with the flashlight, going in and shining it on all these facets, allowing the diamond to reflect them and be shimmering like that. So you have to give each other opportunities to succeed, and that is the way to basically also grow in your career. Nobody I've seen has actually gone way up in their career just by stepping over other people. Okay, everybody who steps over other people will think about it technically and computationally also. This is correct. Okay, you can prove it. I think you can prove it. Okay, someone who climbs over other people to their success will eventually top out. There is a point beyond which they cannot go, because every person you climb over is now going to pull you down. They don't want you, because you made someone feel bad. They don't want you to go on and have great success. So subconsciously, right? So they're not going to help you anymore, essentially. At the very least, they're not going to help you anymore, right? So the more people under you that you climbed over, there's more resistance downwards. More resistance go up and more force downwards. So at some point, these forces are going to get balanced out. No matter how great we are, okay, that force is still a finite force. The number of neurons in our brain that's still finite, and with the downward force increasing, that's going to be balanced out at some point. Okay, they'll top out, and that's where they'll get stuck. And they'll say, that's a glass ceiling for me. I can't go up anymore because there's all these people pulling me down, right? Yes, of course they're pulling you down, right? Because you don't care for them. So, however, if you keep giving people opportunities to succeed and shining, helping each other, those people basically there's no end in sight, because there's nobody pulling each other down. But on the contrary, there's lots of people pulling them up, because those are people who are also been elevated with them, helping each other. So they're all going to be pulling each other up, and there's no end to the heights you can reach that way. And that is something that I have found with experience. And yeah, I think that will also help greatly by but give everybody, all of you, opportunities to share your incredible knowledge, okay, and things that you've discovered. In 2B, I was very happy with you guys, anyways, all of you here, because you had shared many pearls of wisdom with your classmates. Okay, you've discovered things, whether it be something about templates and how compilers treat templates and things like that, or ways in which polymorphism works, or how you can test for recursion going haywire. All of these things, very interesting posts, and many of them not completely obvious to beginning coders. And you say, well, there's no way that person could have come up with this problem or faced this problem unless they had actually mastered some other really crucial skills to get to that problem. Because there are so many problems we won't face unless we've solved, simpler problems on the way. And the fact that you actually have a problem indicates that you have solved other problems leading to that problem. And so all of those are great, I don't know, value in just furthering your own, I think, likelihood of getting more useful information from everybody. It's also more fun, right? It's more fun to go on any trail in a group rather than alone. So that's great. All right, so we can basically start the updates, and when you're done, we could call it a day, unless you have any more questions, and then we'll meet again next Monday, obviously, and we'll have more updates, hopefully, and I'm hoping that the forum will also start picking up speed from this week on, because many people are questioning in blue and green, and they are not posting in blue and green, but hopefully they will all have caught up, and interesting stuff will start happening. Do you guys want to start updating each other now? We'll do a circle. Okay. So in my on my screen, I have Tricky going first, then Riley, and then Tony. Everybody remember who you're coming after, okay? And then Walter and Sung. Is that okay? Great. So Tricky,
Awesome.
you can start.
Awesome. So before today, I was just going to go through all the quests just to check them one by one to see any points. So far, I finished blue. I have my GitHub. Everything is backed up, so I'll just upload all my greens to catch up, and I'll be starting number 1 today.
Cool. So yeah, I finished the red quest 2. I got the password. I just haven't finished the last mini quest. I'm having some trouble with that. And the general trend I noticed with the quest is I'm spending a lot more time thinking about the problem first and then coding later. I think the previous quarter I would just start coding like as soon as I could, and this time I think it's a lot more thinking going before I code. So yeah.
So last week I went back to the green quest. I worked on quest 8. The 5th mini quest on how it prints out per recursion to tell that the depth of the recursion, and I finished that, and I am currently working on quest 1, the red quest, and I think it won't take me long.
Yep, I'm on the first quest as well. I just sort of got done thinking about it. Starting coding right now. Hopefully gonna make a good progress today.
Yeah, I'm also on Red Quest 1, like thinking about a viable solution for that, the search function, which I haven't really found yet, but hopefully I'll finish it by Sunday.
Awesome. Well, that's basically it. Unless you guys have anything more to say or talk to each other about or ask me, we can basically say that we can call it a day. And Walter is very eager to get back to coding, I can see. So so you can take off. Yeah. But do you want to stick around? Do you have any questions? Otherwise, I'm happy. Just having an opportunity to see you guys every week. I think that's more than I can ask for. So thank you all for turning up and being such great students. I'll see you next week. Yeah. All right. But in the meanwhile, I'll be looking at the forums. Thanks. Bye.
Bye, guys. Stay safe.
Bye.
Have a good one.